Hello guys, this is Core here and welcome back to my channel. Today I have an interesting video for you guys. Now finally the balance changes for tier 10 have finally been announced, and Wargaming here, you can see I have on the screen here on the left side here, you can see Wargaming, they kind of announced their change on their Discord. And what I have to my right here is going to be a tier list kind of, so I'm going to try to go over all the changes, kind of see what the winners and losers are of each change, and kind of see, you know, if I can somewhat predict what the future meta is going to end up looking like and what the best tanks in the game are going to end up being. So with that in mind, hopefully you guys find this video useful. Maybe it'll help you guys grind a couple tanks a little bit earlier than you thought you needed to. But overall, hope you guys enjoy. And again, if you guys enjoy, make sure you guys smash the like button. Really appreciate that. As well as make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into the tier list here. So real quick here, we're going to take a look at the first tank here. First tank listed is going to be medium tank. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Lion. Now, the Lion is going to end up actually being, in my opinion, essentially the same. I don't think a whole lot has changed with it. Basically, the engine power is slightly better, and the DPM is slightly better, and the armor is slightly better. So overall, Lion is a slight winner, in my opinion. Not really a full-on winner, just slightly better, in my opinion, compared to, you know, what it was before. So we're going to put it in the better section here. Now, moving down to the Murat. The Murat's a big one, by the way. Murat, I did really complain about the Murat before as being a very bad medium tank. Basically just gets out DPM'd by everything, and there's just nothing really going for it when it comes to a 1v1 fight, right? And so here, Wargaming, can see they increased the alpha by 20 HP, so it's a decent amount of alpha, actually. It has more alpha than most tanks, like basically any medium essentially. So it has a very high alpha. The interclip as well is very short too, so instead of 2.4 is 2 points, it's just exactly 2 seconds now. So overall, this is a good change for the Murat. I don't know if it's going to actually make it that competitive, because the Murat, as I mentioned before, the main issue with it was just the pure DPM. You know, it just can't compete by DPM. And if you take a look at what they did here, they basically made the interclip shorter by 0.4 seconds, but the reload time was also increased by essentially 0.4 seconds. So you really didn't gain any DPM by that, apart from the DPM from the extra alpha that you get. But I don't really see how you know, an extra 20 HP per shot here is going to really change a whole lot with the Murat. I think it's still kind of in a tough spot. Overall, it is slightly better, but I can't really say it's going to be that competitive. I just don't think it's going to be a very good tank. So I'm going to put it in the same section as the Lion there. So overall, that's it. Moving down to the E50 here. E50 does get some big changes here. It loses a lot of engine power, so it's not going to be as fast as reactive as it used to be. The alpha on it is better, so it got increased. It also got AP as well, which is really a nice change. APCR, again, really not a good shell in general. So having AP is a good thing for it. However, the main drawback, the main nerf that it gets is that it loses its reactive armor. So in my opinion, the E50's reactive armor, that was the only thing that was kind of making it still good. You know, so without reactive armor, I just think the tank loses so much capability. So in general, I think it's definitely a lot worse. Almost a loser kind of, I would say. It's kind of in the loser tier at the moment. It just loses so much, you know, the reactive armor was the only thing going for it, and its reload as well got increased by quite a bit too. If you take a look there, it's almost 7 seconds extra reload, so it's pretty long, much longer reload than before. And yeah, slightly higher alpha, but I don't think it's really worth it. So overall, E50 is a big loser in this update here. It definitely does not become as OP as it used to be anymore. Definitely not really a tank you're gonna be seeing a whole lot of. So moving down here to CS63 here. CS63 actually gets some nice changes, although I don't really think it's a whole lot for it. It does get better engine power. The speed is also a little bit faster. You get an extra 2 kilometers speed in general. Aim time is better, but the HP is a little bit less, and that's just basically about it. Nothing really changes. So in my opinion, the CS63 is basically exactly where it was before the changes. It's just the same thing. You play it exactly the same way, and there's not a whole lot that's going to make it, you know, that much better. The only thing, though, I will say is that in the grand scheme of things, CS63 is probably going to be a much better tank because it won't have to deal with the reactive armor E50s anymore. So that is probably, in a way, it's a big buff for it because it doesn't have to get, its biggest weakness before was the fact that it can't fight mediums like the E50 and get away with it, right? Now it's going to be able to get away with it a lot easier, in my opinion. So I think CS63 is a little bit of a winner, actually, if anything. I'm going to go ahead and move it up to the better tier. It is a winner, but not really, nothing really changed about it in general, just better because everything else around it got worse, if that makes sense. So moving now to T62 here. The reload time finally got fixed. It is not as long as it used to be anymore, 6.6 seconds reload. The shot dispersion got a little bit better too. So overall, the 62 got better in every possible way. So I'm definitely going to put it in the better area. It's better, but I don't think it's going to be game breaking. It's not going to be super meta. It's just better in general. I think it's a good change overall for 62. It really needed it, to be honest. It couldn't really compete a whole lot with the previous meta. So let's go ahead and scroll down here. The 140 gets a max speed of extra 4 kilometers there. So that's actually pretty interesting. Extra, 64-kilometer basically speed. Basically, the 140 is going to feel like a light tank now, in my opinion. And also 5.5-second reload. So it also loses like 0.1 seconds on its reload too. And the armor on the turret is also improved. So 140 is definitely a big winner in my opinion. Basically, same boat as the 62. Everything about it got better. Just I don't think it's going to be that game breaking anyways in the grand scheme of things, but it is definitely much better than it was before. So overall, good changes for the 140 there in general. Moving down to the T22. T22 does get slightly lower dispersion, so not a whole lot, crazy. The aim time is actually much better on the T22 now as well. Engine power is a little bit worse. View range is, slightly worse, which in my opinion, I think none of these changes really make it that much better than it used to be. I mean, the aim time is nice and everything. Probably I'm going to say it's a little bit better actually compared to what it was before the update. Again, simply because everything around it just got nerfed, if that makes sense. So T22 is going to be a pretty solid option. It still has tungsten, by the way, so it's going to be a pretty good tank. Has decent DPM, and the gun is just going to be a little bit more accurate. So overall, good change for the T22. Definitely a better tank than it was before, but not really a huge change. Again, I don't think it's going to be game-breakingly meta or anything like that. It's just going to be slightly better than it was before. Moving down to the M60. The M60 gets basically faster rotation speed for the turret. The armor in the turret is improved. The armor in the hull is weakened. Shell speed is worse, considerably worse actually. And the view range is a little bit worse. So overall, M60, I don't think anything really changed for it. I don't really see how better turret armor is going to do anything, because the M60's problem at the end of the day was the cupola. It wasn't really the armor itself on the turret. It was just the cupola at the top of the turret. So that weak spot is still going to be there. I really don't think anything changed at all. Nobody really aims for the cheeks on the M60 that much. Most of the people are going to aim at the cupola. That's the easiest one to pen there. So in my opinion, M60 literally did not move at all. Basically the same. Nothing good about it. Moving down to the M48 patent, the M60's brother here. So going down here, the dispersion on the M48 is slightly better. Aim time is slightly better. Shell speed is worse, actually considerably worse. And it is getting APCR. So the shell speed, yeah, I don't know. This is, it's a huge loser, if I'm being honest here. So first of all, you do lose AP, you get APCR, and you also lose your reactive armor. So it's just double loser, basically, double whammy loser. This thing is just honestly worse than the E50 Loki, because the only thing the M48 had over the E50 was the fact that it had AP back in the day. Now it's going to have APCR, and the E50 is the one with the AP. So I think the E50 is a little less of a loser than the M48. M48 is just a total loser. It already has like bad armor compared to the E50. So yeah, there's just nothing going for this tank. I would not recommend to even waste your time grinding this tank anymore. There's so much better tanks in my opinion, especially the Russian tanks like the T62 and the 140 are looking really solid. The CES as well looks much better than the M48. I just can't justify why I'd ever use that tank anymore. So big loser in this update here is definitely the M48 patent. Moving down here for the 4202. So there's two guns for the 4202, but overall, the turret armor improved. The view range got worse a little bit. And basically, yeah, I mean, not a whole lot has really changed that much between the two guns. Yeah, I think 422 is exactly where it was before. Nothing changed at all. In my opinion, it's basically the same tank. So I'm going to put it in the same tier as the M60. All right, moving down to the Progetto. Better turret rotation, dispersion. The engine power is also increased. Aim time is also a bit better. The HP is less. Again, I don't think these changes make anything. I mean, the Progetto never really suffered because of its turret rotation dispersion. Like, I just don't think that's really a big deal. It might be a bit more accurate, which is going to be nice in general, I think. But losing your HP, I mean, I'm going to put it in the same category. I don't think it really got that much better. It is probably a little bit better, but it's not really that much better enough to put it in the tier above. So basically for me the same. I don't think the Progetto really changed a whole lot. You're losing HP, but getting a better gun essentially. That's all you got. Probably a little bit better than before, but not a whole lot. Alrighty, moving down to the 907, better turret rotation dispersion. Same thing as the Progetto as mentioned above. The main shell penetration has been increased a little bit, 3 millimeters. That's not really going to do a whole lot, to be fair. Shell speed as well was significantly increased. And the shell type went to APCR. Ooh, that is, yeah, loser. The 907, I don't know. APCR is a really bad shell in general. I can't see why this is a good change for a 907. 907 was a good tank in general because you had the aim reticle with AP, by the way, so you could snipe pretty long distance with that kind of like setup that you had, and your shots were pretty reliable. Now you're gonna have APCR as your base shell, so it's gonna be pretty unreliable actually. And yeah, you do have to aim consumable and everything, but you know, you guys know how APCR is. Sometimes it just decides to troll you. So in my opinion, the 907 is worse. It's not better. It's not complete loser, but it is worse. It's definitely much worse than it was before. So that's my opinion on that. Going on to the Karo here. Shell speed for the Karo got slightly decreased, I guess. Armor and turrets improved. Reload time is also significantly improved, by the way, as well. Actually, the DPM on the Karo is going to be much better than before. And the interclip is also 0.2 seconds faster. So that's actually pretty nice. However, it comes at the drawback of you get lower alpha, if that makes sense. So in my opinion, actually, I do think that's actually a slight win for the Karo. The reason I say it's a slight is because of the DPM, and the shell interclip being shorter is actually pretty big. That 0.2 seconds that you see there in between each shell, that's actually huge because there's 4 shells in total, right? So basically 3 times, you know, 0.2, that's like a whole, like, basically like a whole second shaved off as not really a second, like almost a second, half a second shaved off your clip in general. That's actually pretty, like, saves you quite a bit of time, and it's gonna mean that you have to peek a little bit less often than you had to before to get your shots off. So it is a slightly better, it's not that much better, nothing game breaking at all. It is just barely slightly better in my opinion. And the turret armor being a little bit better as well. That I don't know how much turret armor is going to get, but you know, more armor on the turret is definitely a good thing for the Karo in general. So overall, slight win. I would say it's a little bit better. Moving on to the STB here, we can see the shot dispersion here has definitely decreased. So that's good. Means the gun is going to be a bit more accurate. Hull rotation speed is also going to be a little bit slower actually. So STB is becoming a little bit sluggish. Shell speed is also decreasing. Yeah, basically, in my opinion, the same thing. Nothing happened at all to this tank. It's exactly where it was before. So in my opinion, same. All right, moving on to KPZ. KPZ 50 here. The HP got increased by 50 HP basically. The horsepower also increased a little bit. Hull movement and rotation was a little bit better as well. Aim time. Ooh, aim time is significantly better. 3.1 compared to 3 points. That's actually really, really good. And shell speed definitely decreased. Overall, I would say it is definitely a buff for it, so it's definitely a better place than it was before, so I'm going to put it in the better category. Although, again, I don't think anything's too game-breaking yet with any of these changes so far. Moving on to the 121B, the alpha increased to 380. That's actually a huge chunk, actually, 30 HP extra, so 380 alpha. The aim time is also much better as well. The engine power is faster, reload time is slower, which makes sense because it has higher alpha. Shell speed is as well slower. Worse turret rotation dispersion as well. So overall, actually, I think the 121B is actually in a better place than it was before because it still has a speed boost, still has adaptive concealment. Yeah, your reload is a little bit longer now, but that extra 380 alpha, I think, is actually pretty solid. I think that's the 121B finds itself in a better place than it was before, in my opinion, just because of that extra alpha. I think that's actually pretty worth it. So better in my opinion. WZ121, the tech-free version of the 121B, basically. Alpha damage has definitely increased by 20 HP, so it's now a 440 alpha gun. That's actually pretty solid. And by the way, it still has tungsten, by the way, so that's going to be like, you're going to be hitting a lot higher 500-ish rolls than you were before with the tungsten. So I think that's actually a pretty good change here. Armor in the turret and the hull also improved, so that's nice. Reload speed obviously decreased a little bit because they increased the alpha, which makes sense. The shell speed as well, not a whole lot really changed with it, to be fair. So overall, actually, that's a buff in my opinion. The 121 getting this kind of alpha with the tungsten enabled, like the way you can play the 121 now, you just peek, like the way you used to play it before is the same way as you should play it now. Basically, you just, use your tungsten adrenaline at the same time. You should be able to get two to three shots off with your tungsten, and basically have higher alpha to make use of that tungsten. So that's actually a win for the 121, I think. So 121 is definitely in a better place than it was before the update here. Definitely going to put it up here. Alrighty, TVP. Have not heard this tank a whole lot of earlier. This tank's kind of slept on now. Nobody really pays attention to it anymore. But basically, the alpha damage on this tank is increased by 10, basically, so not a whole lot. The DPM is definitely much better though with the 19.8 second or 19.18 basically compared to 24 seconds almost. So that's actually pretty solid there. And the interclip as well is 1.5, so also decreased again. So I think TVP, yeah, it looks good. Although the quantity of shells going from 4 to 3 though, I don't see how this is a good change for it. I don't know. I mean, I think the bat shot would just still be a better option. TVP, in my opinion, actually getting 3 shells instead of 4 makes this tank a bit of a loser, actually, in my opinion. So I think this tank is actually worse than it was before, just because it loses out on that 4th shell that it used to have. And basically, I mean, yeah, the interclip's a little bit better and stuff, but it's just not really going to be as punishing as it used to be. And the TVP is a very easy, soft to HE kind of tank. It's not really a good tank in general. It has very bad survivability, and so the fact that it has a 19.81 second reload, even with 3 shells only, that's just a huge amount. I think it's a very bad tank, actually. This might straight up be a complete loser anyways. I mean, TVP is already in a bad place, but I think it's going to be a slightly worse place than it was before. So, yeah, I'm just going to leave it in the worst category. Moving on to the Leopard one, this is a big change as well for you guys. You gotta want to pay attention to this one here. So alpha damage does increase by 10 HP, which is nice. Reload time obviously increases as well because of that, which is fine. But the main thing is that the main shell goes from AP to APCR, and I think that's gonna suck for the Leopard, because the Leopard depends on long-range gunnery skills for, you know, being able to be effective, and it's known as being a very accurate sniper, right? And now giving it APCR loses penetration over distance, guys, because it's a velocity. It's like basically it's you know, the higher velocity you have, the more you're losing your penetration over distance, you know, like the longer it is. Now they are increasing the shell velocity because of that, so overall it's not really gonna affect it too much. I think it's the same. But APCR, just the shell normalization on it, in my opinion, is going to really make the tank very troll. It's not going to be as reliable as it used to be. You are going to bounce a lot more shots than you used to be as well. So, in my opinion, you just took a very accurate sniper and made it very inaccurate kind of in some ways. So, in my opinion, I just don't see this being a good change. In my opinion, Leopard is worse. It's not horrible because it does get better like Alpha. But, yeah, I would much rather keep the AP and slightly less Alpha, in my opinion. But, yeah, I just don't really see this as being a winner. This is a little bit of a loser. So in my opinion, Leopard is definitely worse than it was before. Not a big fan of this change, really. Don't like, in my opinion, I kind of commented this earlier as well, but in my opinion, every single tank in the game should have AP like standard basically, and then the premium ammo should be the one that's like between APCR and heat. You know, that would be pretty fair balance in my opinion. But yeah, having APCR as your base shell for a tank that relies on its gun for like long range sniping, I don't know. I don't really see that being a good change at all for this tank. Moving on to the 30B, max speed is a little bit increased, reload speed is decreased, which is good. Armor and turret is improved, and basically everything else is the same. So, in my opinion, it is definitely better, but not that much better. So I'm going to put that one in the slightly, it's basically the same, to be fair. I don't really think it's that much better. I'm just going to put it in the same category. It is technically better, like it is better in every way, basically, but it's such small margins. Like 3 kilometers and faster speed isn't really going to be a big difference. And there, even the DPM, like the reload decreasing, isn't that much either. It's like 0.2 seconds. So it's a little bit nicer than before. But I don't know, compared to like a 140, for example, the 140 is definitely a much more obvious winner than this tank, in my opinion. So overall, pretty much the same as it was before. All right, now we're moving down to the light tanks here. So we have finished all the medium tanks. We're going to move down to the light tanks. This is going to be very interesting here. So Vickers Light gets a max speed of extra 3 kilometers per hour. Engine power is also increased. Gun depression is also increased by 1 degree as well, which is actually, that is pretty nice, actually. That's the big change. Armor and the turret is improved. So yeah, Vickers is definitely a much better tank than it was before because of these changes here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Vickers up in the better category. Again, I don't really think it's going to be game-breaking, but Vickers is definitely going to be a lot more usable now than before. However, you do still have that Hesh gun on it, so I don't think the Vickers are going to really do that well versus armored tanks in general. So it's better, but it's still going to suffer. I don't think you're really going to see it a whole lot in Clan Wars or anything like that. So that's just my opinion on it. All right, moving down to the RHM. The RHM gets better view range, 280 by the way, which is, I think, one of the highest. I mean, it's better than Vickers for sure. So 280 view range on the RHM. That's actually making it very competitive in terms of spotting. So it's going to be interesting to see how the RHM does, actually. The alpha on it also got increased, and the reload time got decreased. So RHM is definitely a big winner. A huge winner, I think. I think this is the first winner type tank here is in the S tier. It just has everything got improved on it, and it much like significantly improved. The DPM got significantly improved. The view range as well is the biggest part, though. I think the viewer 280 view range for a light tank, it's going to be a very dangerous light tank. Basically, it has the highest view range in the game at the moment then, because if you just look just below it, the WZ-132 basically got its view range decreased, and its view range used to be 280, which is like was the best view range of any light tank basically in the game. So yeah, RHM is a big winner for sure. Now, with that in mind, also the WZ losing its view range a little bit. In my opinion, it hasn't really changed that much. It is a slightly worse, obviously, but I think the playstyle is going to be exactly the same, so I'm not really going to worry too much about that. It is going to be basically the same as what it was before. View range really doesn't make a big difference that much. You know, it still has good camo in general, the WZ, so overall, I think it will still be fine. Now, moving on to the T100, the view range got increased a little bit. The gold shell also got increased. The DPM got... Ooh, yeah, it loses a lot of DPM at 0.5 seconds extra on its reload. So that is actually kind of bad. Actually, T100 got nerfed, actually. I think T100 is going to be much worse than it was before. Definitely in the worst category. It's not complete loser, but it is pretty close to being a complete loser. The only thing going for the T100 was the DPM, and also the fact that it has the best camo in the game. So right now with their RHM having such high view range, as you guys saw earlier there, I think the RHM might actually overtake the T100. It's going to have much better DPM than T100 actually. So in a 1v1 fight, the RHM with tungsten, by the way, as well, and reactive possibly, or even adrenaline, is going to have so much better DPM than T100. I think, yeah, I think actually the T100 might actually be a big loser in this change here. I mean, the penetration is a little bit better, but that's not worth losing 0.5 seconds on your reload. That's actually really, really bad. And also your hull rotation speed also got nerfed. Same with your turret. Yeah, it's just, I honestly, I'm going to move the T100 down to complete loser. I think it's very, I don't know. It's a tough one, man. RHM might actually, they're trying to make the RHM meta. I can very clearly see that. However, RHM does have APCR standard though, but I do think it's going to be much better than T100 just about every way. T100, again, the only thing possibly going for T100 is the camo rating, but I think the view range buff on the RHM might actually kind of counteract that a little bit. So I do feel that the RHM is just a better tank now in general than the T100. So yeah, big loser here for the T100. Just gets completely power crept by the RHM. Moving down to the Sheridan. Sheridan gets tungsten, by the way. That is actually very nice. And also gets AP as a main shell. That's also very nice. The DPM gets slightly increased by 1 second. However, I think getting AP is huge. And yeah, this is a winner for sure. Not a complete winner. I think it's just slightly better than it was before Sheridan. It is pretty close to being a winner to be. I mean, I'm going to say it's actually in the winner category because it's significantly better. However, I don't think it's going to be meta. I think the RHM is still going to destroy the Sheridan basically, but I think the Sheridan is much more usable now than it used to be. Having AP standard is going to be such a nice change for it. It does lose a little bit of shell velocity, but not too much. I think as long as you run supercharge, you'll be fine. So overall, winner for the Sheridan here. Moving down to the Batchat. The Batchat has 2 guns, by the way, so we're going to move all the way down here. So you can see that the view range on the Batchat got increased. Okay, 270. Not as good as the RHM, but slightly better than before. Reload time got decreased for the 100mm gun. The shells also went from 2.2 to 2.0, but it goes from AP to APCR. Ooh, that is... I don't know. It's hard to judge this one. I mean... Sounds better, but APCR. I can't justify APCR being good. So let's take a look at the 105 actually. Is the 105 any better? It goes from APCR to AP. Okay, that's nice. The reload time also gets wow, like 3.6 seconds shaved off of it. So that's huge, by the way, as well. And between the interclip is a little bit longer though, so it goes to 3 seconds interclip. And the average alpha is 330 only. Nah, I think the Batchat got worse, to be fair, actually. Yeah. Batchat, in my opinion, got worse. I think the 100mm gun was the better gun before. It just had such good DPM, and I don't know, just having AP as well for it was kind of nice. APCR heat, I don't know, it's not too bad, but it's worse. It's worse in my opinion. This one might be a little bit controversial. I'm not honestly 100% sure. I feel like I have to try this tank out for myself, but just by reading the stats on it, I do feel it's a little bit worse than before. That's kind of just my judgment on it. All right, moving down to the tank destroyers now. So when you're done with the light tanks, now we are at the tank destroyer section. So what do we have here? We have the WZ-113 GFT here. It has better aim time. The HP got decreased a little bit. Shot dispersion as well got, well, it got actually increased quite a bit. So dispersion is much worse than it was before. The camo coefficient as well is worse. Okay, so basically everything about this tank got worse. All right, so WZ is going down in the gutters basically. I think this is just, yeah, worse. It's not total loser yet. It's just worse in my opinion. I just don't see why you be using this tank at all anymore. Overall, just, I don't know, this doesn't look like a good option to have. So let me go ahead and try to find it real quick. There is a Chinese section here. For some reason, I cannot find it. Why can I not find it? This is very interesting. Do I have TDs here? There we go. Gotta make it a TD. So it's in the worst section. Alrighty, Hori gets its shell velocity basically the same. Okay. I don't know what this change is here, but I'm actually going to put Hori in the winner category. The reason I'm going to do that is because everything else got nerfed around it, and Hori keeps its reactive armor, by the way. So Hori is going to be a very strong tank in the next meta, in my opinion. It is one of the few tanks that still keeps its reactive armor. Yeah, just a good tank. Any tank with reactive is instantly meta, so Hori still keeping its reactive armor and basically not really losing anything at all. I mean, the shell speed, I don't think anybody really cares about extra 30 meters a second or whatever. That's not going to do anything. So overall, W for Hori. Minotaur armor and turret improved, and main shell type went from APCR to AP. That's a good change as well. Minotaur is a bit of a winner here. Going to go ahead and put it in the better category. XM goes from APCR to AP. Armor and turret is improved, and the shell speed is a little bit nerfed. Winner, 100% winner. This one definitely better than it was before. I don't think it's game breaking. It's going to be still like a pretty average tank, but it's going to be a lot more convenient having AP standard, so that's a good change for it. Moving on to the E3. The E3 gets much faster hull rotation speed. Armor is also improved. Shell speed is also, well, it's kind of decreased. I mean, actually, no, it is improved, actually. Improved a little bit. And the main shell penetration is like, I think this is a winner. Slight winner. Nothing too crazy, nothing to write home about. It is just slightly better than it was before, but yeah, nothing really that good about it. 268 version 4 alpha damage is increased to 670. That's really, really nice, by the way. The dispersion as well is going to be decreased, which is very, very nice. Aim time as well decreased, and the shell speed is going to be increased. Okay, I mean, winner in just about every regard here, basically. And it gets AP as well instead of APCR. That's actually very nice as well. So, yeah, winner. I think this is a winner for sure. It is not fully on a winner. It still has reactive armor, by the way, which is going to be kind of nice for it, but I do think the Hori is just better in every way, so I don't really see why you would use a 268 instead of a Hori. And the DPM on it is still kind of, I guess, actually worse, so it's slightly better, but not that much better. 263 has better gun movement speed. The angled limit on it becomes 12 degrees. Okay, that's actually very nice. 12 left and right. That's actually very nice. Okay. Engine power is slightly increased. Terrain resistance, I don't really think that matters at all. The speed as well is a little bit decreased. So this is a win for the 263. It is definitely better than it was before, so it's going to be in the better category. E4 engine power slightly increased. Shell speed increased by a lot, actually. So E4, I guess it's a slight winner. I mean, nothing too crazy again. Badger going from APCR to AP, that's a huge win for that. Better hull movement rotation dispersion, that's perfect. That's very good as well. Better gun movement dispersion, also very good. And the shell speed, yeah, decreases a little bit, but that's worth it for getting AP standard. That's actually a very big win for the Badger. Definitely going to be a winner in the better side there. Okay, moving on to 268 here. Terrain resistance, again, don't really care too much about that. Reload speed is decreased by quite a bit, actually. The engine power is increased. The alpha damage is slightly decreased. I think it's the same. I don't think anything really changed with this one, so I'm going to put it in the same category. Basically the same tank it was before. Nothing changed at all about it. Waffen gets slightly more HP. That's not going to change anything at all about the tank. Basically the same thing. The Jag Panzer E100, better hull movement dispersion, better gun movement dispersion. Engine power is slightly increased. Shot dispersion is ooh, shot dispersion is much worse actually than it was before, and the tungsten gets removed and the aim time gets worse. Yeah, this is just the L. It's honestly a pretty massive L. Loser. Complete loser, I think, for the Yag here. The Yag was already kind of like a bad tank to begin with. It's very hard to play, but the Yag losing its tungsten, I think, makes it just worse. Like, I don't know why I'd play a Yag at this point. Why would you just not take a 268? Something with actual good camo, like better like flexibility, and basically the same alpha gun. I just don't see why I'd use a Yag at all. The Yag, in my opinion, just, yeah, loser. Complete loser of this update here, in my opinion. Moving on to the grill here, we can see shell speed is, I mean, I don't really care about that too much. The horizontal depression, basically, if that makes sense, like the horizontal gun limit is going to be increased from 50 degrees to 65. That's going to be good for it as well. Main shell type goes from AP to APCR, so that's a big L for that grill, in my opinion. The aim time as well gets better, but yeah, gun depression is well better, but it's still APCR standard is just nah. This is gonna be for me. It's just worse / loser. I don't know. A grill again, it's like a lot. It's the same problem as a leopard base. I don't really see why Wargaming is doing this. Why are you giving like APCR to tanks that need the AP? Like, this grill's like a long range sniping TD, bro. You are not going to be able to like pen shots with APCR being your base shell. You're going to bounce so much with that, and this does not seem like a good change at all for me. So overall, honestly, borderline. The only thing that's not making it a loser is the fact that it increases gun depression and the limit on it. That's basically like the only thing going for it. But the shell being nerfed is just really bad. The grills already kind of struggled, to be honest, to begin with, in my opinion. Just, it's a very hard tank to play, and yeah, now you're just making it even harder to snipe with. So in my opinion, pretty big L for the grill here. Moving on to the 4005. This is a very big change, by the way, for the 4005. Aim time gets slightly better. Engine power is slightly better. The gun caliber, though, changes completely. It goes from 123mm to 150. So now it's got a big derpy gun. And I believe it's also going to get an autoloader derpy gun. So it's going to go from 410 alpha to 650 alpha. So basically, this tank is going to become the Foch. It's a Foch with no armor, essentially, if that makes sense. However, the shell type is going to be APCR. Okay, I mean, maybe it's not too bad, actually. It depends, though, what we have here. So HP got decreased. Quantity of shells is only 2. And the reload between the shells is 4 seconds. It's a big change, but I'm not convinced. 4 seconds is still actually pretty large amount of reload, to be fair. That's a tough one. I don't know, to be honest. For me, it's same kind of. I don't see how it's going to be that much better than before. APCR again, it's a very bad shell, and heat is, I don't know. I think it's the same, to be honest. I mean, the derpy gun is gonna probably benefit it, but the fact it's APCR might not benefit it. So that's kind of my opinion. But overall, it is what it is. 183 gets view rate. Yeah, that's not going to change anything at all. I mean, it's a slight nerf, but basically the same thing. And now we are moving on to the heavy tanks here. So let's go ahead and pull up the heavy tanks of this update here. So what do we have here? We have the Reno, or the first one is the Chieftain, actually. So Chieftain gets better DPM, actually, more HP, and better aim time. And armor is also improved, although armor and turret really doesn't mean anything because the cupola on the Chieftain is the one that you're going to aim at the most of the time. So in my opinion, Chieftain did not change at all. I think basically the same. It's slightly better, but it might be significantly better, actually. I'm going to put it in the better category because I think some of the other heavies in this round have got nerfed pretty hard, actually. So I think Chieftain's going to find itself in a better category for sure. Reno Sorante. I'm going to go ahead and move this a little bit so you guys can see everything. But basically, Reno Sorante, instead of the improved optics, yeah, you get the suspension and the gun depression, basically. Okay. So I don't think that really does a whole lot. I mean, it's going to be better for it. The reload time as well went from 10.2 to 11. Okay. So slightly worse reload time from what I can tell. Turret rotation speed also got significantly worse. Gun depression got, I mean, didn't really change. The gun elevation changed a little bit. So basically the same, I think. I don't think this tank really changes a whole lot, in my opinion. Basically the same thing. Alright, moving on to the 116F3. Removed reactive armor and sandbag. Okay, that's a huge change for the 116. That is definitely a big L, to be honest, especially for all the wallet warriors, including myself, by the way, who bought the 116 for tournaments. Now this tank is completely not going to be meta anymore. I just don't see why I'd use it. So yeah, big L for the 116. Basically losing reactive armor and your HP. Yeah, that's just, there's nothing going for this tank anymore at that point. So yeah, big L for the 116. Mouse getting bit more armor in the turret. The HP also increases by 50. I mean, basically the same, I think, in my opinion. Nothing really changed with this one, so gonna put it in the same category. The E6, the armor in the turret got weakened. I guess that would make it slightly worse, but I still think it's gonna be a pretty... I think it's going to be the same, to be honest. I don't think the armor really does a whole lot. The E6, again, was known for its mobility, so like it being really fast and having good DPM and stuff is the main reason why it's used in general. So I don't think that's going to change a whole lot. Like the armor on the turret, yeah, maybe you bounce a little bit less. Depends how much the armor is nerfed, but in my opinion, I don't think they're going to nerf it that much. I mean, it still has a pretty easy to pen cupola, so that is the only thing, kind of, if that makes sense. But I mean, I think E6 is going to be the same. Nothing too crazy about that. Moving down to the VZ55 here. Aim time got decreased, so that's good. Gear oil is added. That is huge, by the way. That is huge. This is okay. I'm just the gear oil alone is gonna make this tank a better tank for sure. I mean, honestly, might even make it a big winner. Actually, I'm gonna put it in the winner category. So the main problem I had with the VZ is the fact it had really bad reverse speed. Gear oil is going to fix that. It's going to give it an extra 4-kilometer reverse speed. It's going to make it a lot more competitive when it comes to having move around and stuff like that. So I think that's a huge change for it. As well as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the heavies in this like got kind of nerfed, so it's going to kind of feel a lot more comfortable to play now. It's going to be a better version of the Rhinus Ferrante, I think, in my opinion. So that's actually a big change for the VZ55 W for the tank in general. And the reload by the interclip, by the way, is also a whole second shorter, which is actually really good too. So big changes there for the VZ. Very good tank, I think. Big winner. Concept 1B gets slightly better, or slightly worse gun, actually. Goes from APSR to AP, though. That's a very good thing. And also gets an auto loader, I guess. Gets two-shot auto loader. Okay, interesting. The reload speed is basically doubled. Okay. It's a 2.5 second auto loader. Okay, so basically... it's going to be a 380 alpha, but 2-shot autoloader with the concept. But you have AP standard. Seems like a W for me, I think. I think it's not like a big W, but it is slightly better, I guess. I'm going to put it in a better category. I mean, the autoloader is going to be nice, but the main thing is the AP. I think getting AP is going to be like the best thing about this tank. So that's good for that. Type 71 gets extra HP, better aim time, but reduced armor. I think it's going to be the same, to be honest. I don't think that really changes a whole lot. I mean, the HP is nice, but the reduced armor, I mean, it's basically the same thing. I don't think it changes at all. The main problem with the Type 71 is the speed at the moment. It's very slow, and the fact that they didn't touch the speed means that the Type 71 is not really going to change a whole lot. Yeah, it has nice penetration and everything. The extra HP is also quite nice, to be fair, but the armor on it getting nerfed as well as it just counteracts the HP that it gains. So overall, nothing really too crazy in my opinion for the Type 71. WZ113, the Chinese heavy, is going to get extra HP, a better alpha, and the DPM is going to be decreased. So basically the same, I think. I don't think that really changes a whole lot. So I'm going to put it in the same category as the Type 71, basically. Alrighty, moving down to some of the big nerfs here. The AMX M4 MLE is going to lose its reactive armor, but it is going to get AP. So I think the M4 losing reactive armor is just going to make it loser, basically. I mean, or not, sorry, not the 50B. I meant to put the MLE. There you go. Loser in my opinion. It just the only thing going for the MLE was the reactive armor, and yeah, AP is a big win for it, but the reactive armor was just more important. So losing the reactive armor means it's kind of a complete loser kind of this update, in my opinion. So it's still going to be a decent tank, but I don't think it's going to be as good as it used to be anymore, unless they give it some kind of other like consumable like tungsten or something. But yeah, MLE without reactive is just going to be kind of mid, in my opinion. Moving down to the Kronwagen. Kronwagen gets AP standard, by the way, which is huge. That's actually a very nice change. Very happy to see that. HP also gets increased. However, the dispersion is also... so the gun is a little bit more inaccurate. So I think the fact that it gets AP is going to make it better. I think AP alone is just enough to make this tank better, even if at the cost of your own accuracy. So in my opinion, it is going to be a better tank than it was before. It's not game breaking, but it's going to be a little bit better. Now, moving down to the E5. E5 gets an extra 100 HP, which is actually very nice. The hull turning is it's going to be a lot more mobile, it seems like it. The reload speed as well is a little bit less, so that's good. Aim time is a little bit, so it's a little bit worse in terms of gun handling. However, it is better in terms of hull, basically. So basically, I think it's going to be the same. I don't think anything really changes about that. Basically, the same thing as you found before. Alrighty, IS-4 actually has a pretty big change here. So it does get a slower reload, but it does get a lot more HP, 200 extra HP than it used to have, which is really nice actually. It probably will still have the speed boost. Yeah, it still has a speed boost, so the max forward speed is decreased quite a bit. So the IS-4 is becoming like a heavy again instead of being like a fast medium, if that makes sense. It's going to be a lot more of a heavy tank, it seems like it. However, it still has the speed boost, but a lot of different armor improvements to hull and some in the turret. Okay, well that's hard to say, man. It's hard to say whether this is a winner or not. Because the DPM getting kind of shafted a little bit. It's an extra second off, like on its DPM basically, for more HP, which is nice. But the speed is gonna get shafted as well, to be honest. So I don't know actually. It's hard to make a decision on this one here. Actually, I don't actually know what to make of this. I think the IS-4 might be slightly better. Slightly better. I think that's kind of my guess, though. I really can't tell until I see the armor profile. So overall, that's just kind of my assumption for now. Moving down to the IS-7, you get better aim time. Much better aim time, actually. The engine power is slightly worse. I mean, I think it's a winner, actually. I think that makes it a winner. Again, because a lot of the heavies got nerfed, so I think the 116 and the MLE being nerfed means the IS-7 with Tunks is actually going to be pretty usable again, especially having a little bit more accurate of gun there with the aim time being much better than before. So I am actually kind of looking forward to seeing what the IS-7 can kind of achieve in terms of tournaments, because IS-7 has kind of historically been a very good tank in terms of tournaments. So I do think the IS-7 will be in the better category for sure compared to where it was before. Definitely more so than the IS-4 in my opinion. Moving down to the 60 TP, my favorite tank of all time. The main shell is going back to AP. That is amazing. That is exactly what I've been waiting for. Oh my god. Thank you so much, Wargaming, for giving it AP again. That is such a good change. Very happy about that. 60 TP, my beloved 60 TP, is going to be somewhat usable again without having APCR. It is still going to be pretty inaccurate, but I think it's going to be a much better tank than it was before. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 60 TP all the way up in the better tier here. It's definitely much better just because of that one change there. 114 SP2 is also going to be a little bit of a better tank, although I don't really think a whole lot's going to change about it. It's going to have a better speed, and the aim time is going to be a little bit better as well, actually. So 114 SP2, I don't know, it's a tough one. I mean, I think it's going to be the same, actually. It's a little better on paper, but I don't think it's really going to change anything in like realistically, because I think the 60 TP is just still a much better version of 114. Because 60 TP getting AP standard basically means that 114 and 60 TP are basically the same tank, except the 60 TP has better armor. So I just think the 60 TP is just the better one, the big winner. The 114 SP2 kind of finds itself in the same place it was before. I don't really think there's anything too crazy about it. All right, moving down to the E100. Engine power is increased. The reverse speed is decreased. The 128mm gun gets faster reload. Actually, okay, interesting. Better aim time for the 150mm gun. The reload is also better, and the alpha is decreased. I think it's the same. I don't think this really changes a whole lot in my opinion. Yeah, basically the same thing. It's maybe slightly better, but not really that much. I mean, 17-second reload for 640 alpha is just not that worth it. So I can't really see this being a good change for D1. I think it's the same thing, basically. All right, moving down to 215B here. Gets extra HP. The reload also gets a little bit better. The hull is a little bit better, too. I mean, I slightly better, I guess. I mean, maybe slightly. I don't know. Hard to say. It's really kind of hard to say, actually. I think it's going to be the same, to be honest. It is slightly better, but no, I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. 215B still has its like uses, and again, 215B is going to. I mean, it was used before, like during the MLE meta, because it was the only thing that could counter the MLE. Now, though, with the 116 being there, I mean, I don't think 116 was going to be meta anymore, actually. So 215B might have a spot back in the lineup essentially, but I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, it might actually have a spot still. Actually, maybe actually put it in the better category. I think it's better. I don't really know how much better, but it seems like it will be better. All right, moving down to the STRV. Better hull and turret movement, rotation, dispersion. Engine power is slightly decreased. Yeah, basically the same. I don't think anything changed about this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the same category. Object 777. This is a big one here. Added sandbags, and it goes from APCR to AP. This is a big winner in my opinion. This is going to be like absolutely in the S tier here. This is a big winner for this tank here. Now this tank has good DPM, has good heat pen, has pretty troll armor as well. And the fact that the only thing that was kind of like lacking on this tank was the fact that it had APCR standard, and now it's going to get extra HP by the way because of sandbags, as well as AP standard, which is huge. This tank is going to really honestly, it's probably going to be a little bit meta, actually, in some ways, I think. It's going to be a pretty solid tank overall, so excited to see how this tank does in tournaments. This is a big W, though, for the Object 777. Moving down to the VK72. Basically, shell speed got... I mean, it's the same thing, basically. Shell penetration, however, got nerfed. Nerfed slash buffed, I guess, if that makes sense. The AP got nerfed, but or buffed, I guess, but the heat got... Actually, hey, no, they got buffed. I'm just blind. Sorry, guys. Okay, so VK got slightly buffed, but I don't think that's going to change anything. Basically the same as it was before. Nothing too crazy about it. Alrighty, Object 260. Main shell went from APCR to AP. That's a really good change. Better turret rotation dispersion. Also good. Turret rotation speed increased. That's good. Better turret armor. That's very good. Aim time also increased. The main shell penetration decreased slightly. Overall, it's a good change. Good change for the 260. It is going to be better than it was before. I don't think it's going to be a whole lot better, but it's definitely going to be better. So I'm going to put it in the better category. BZ75 for the 130mm gun. The DPM got a little bit better. The aim time a little bit better. But yeah, basically the same thing in my opinion. I mean, to be fair, the BZ75, I don't even know why you'd use the BZ75 with this 130mm gun. If you're going to play the BZ75, the only good thing about it is the derpy Hesh gun that you have. So I just don't see why that makes any difference. It's going to be exactly the same place as it was before. 57 heavy, engine power got slightly decreased, I guess, and then alpha got decreased. Ooh, that's actually pretty big. That's like 25 alpha less damage than it was before. That's pretty massive, actually. Reload speed got a little better, though. The interclip, I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's that good. It's like okay, I guess, but basically same as it was before. No change there, in my opinion. The WZ-111-5A, better hull movement dispersion. Aim time got a little bit better. Yeah. Basically the same. Nothing changed at all for this tank, in my opinion, actually. Yeah, nothing at all changed for it. So basically the same. 50B max forward / backward speed got increased. So it has slower reverse speed now, but faster forward speed. Okay, interesting. Alpha damage got increased quite a bit to 415, actually. Okay. Hull rotation also a little bit slower. Quantity of shells, though, goes down to 3 instead of 4. What about the interclip? What's the 2.5? Okay. I think that's a win for the 50B, actually. It's not a big win, but it is a slight win, in my opinion. I think the 50B is going to kind of benefit from this because having a 4-shot autoloader, I mean... Yeah, I think it's a good win for the 50B, actually. It's going to have better DPM. Basically, it's going to have... You're going to have to peak a little bit less for the same amount of damage, basically. I mean, you are getting 35 extra damage. 35 times 3 is almost like 100, right? So basically, you are losing a little bit of damage, but you're kind of getting 100 back. So overall, I think it's a good change for the 50B. I think 50B is slightly better than it was before, for sure. The AE Phase 1, that's a Tier 9 added emergency track. I don't really care too much about this. So basically, that is all the changes. So let's go ahead and put this on full screen so that you guys can see the tier list in total here. I'm going to go ahead and try to make it where it just like looks better on the OBS. Let me go ahead and fix that real quick for you guys. So OBS, there we go. Alrighty. So go ahead and cut here, show you guys basically everything that we have. So overall, in my tier list, this is kind of my overall tier list. So the big winners in this one is the RHM, the Sheridan, the Hori, the VZ55, and the Object 77. Now, there is one tank I have not mentioned at all, which is also a huge, huge winner. And that is going to be the Super Conch. The reason why the Super Conch is because it just hasn't been touched. It's the only heavy tank that still maintains its reactive armor, I think, and the only heavy tank that's still going to be very competitive. So I think Super Conch, the next season that we're going to see here is going to be Super Conch Hori meta, in my opinion, and the RHM being the main light tank. The Object 777, I think, will also be used a little bit. I don't think it's going to be spammed, but it is going to be definitely usable, especially with the fact that it has good heat pen. So it's going to be able to be a good damage farmer, basically. It has good DPM, good heat pen, and a lot of HP as well. But the Super Conch with reactive and good DPM as well, I think Super Conch is going to be the main tank. Basically, I think all the 116 meta is going to be replaced by the Super Conch, in my opinion. Hori will be used a little bit more, I think, often, because Hori does pretty well versus single shot tanks. Hori kind of struggled in the past meta because of the Clippers, really. I think the Kron also has a good chance of being used quite a bit too, actually. It will be pretty decent, although I don't know how good. I mean, the Concept might actually be used instead of Kron in some situation. I think Concept actually might be a very good tank too, a little bit underrated. So overall, that is my tier list. Overall, we have some big winners here, but we also have some massive losers here. The M48, the E50, the T100, the YAG, the 116, the M4. All these tanks getting completely shafted. So some interesting meta changes I'm kind of curious to see. I mean, there's a big change. You can clearly tell that Wargaming here is trying to reduce the amount of reactive armor tanks in general. However, just like I feel like them reducing the reactive armor tanks doesn't do anything, because as long as reactive armor tanks exist, then they will always be the best tanks in the game. So Hori and Super Conch, that's what my eyes are on at the moment. The rest of the tanks I think are winners in their own ways, but I don't think the VZ55 will be used, and I don't think the Sheridan will be used much in tournaments at all. I think it's going to be RHM, Hori, and Super Conch, as well as some Object 7777 basically, and maybe a little bit of 60 TP, to be honest, although I don't really know yet. Depends. 215B as well, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of tanks that I'm not actually sure if they will be meta or not. It depends on a lot of factors, but overall, some interesting changes here. And hope you guys enjoyed the video. A bit of a long one, but I wanted to kind of cover all the changes here. And let me guys know what your thoughts are. In my opinion, overall, I'm just going to let my thoughts be clear here. Again, I think Wargaming should give every tank AP standard. APCR is just a horrible shell to deal with. I just don't like this shell at all. So I think, yeah, that's my main opinion. So the Leopard and the Grill getting APCR is just kind of absurd for me. I don't really understand the logic behind that one. But it is what it is. And, you know, at the end of the day, I think Wargaming is trying to artificially buff APCR in a way by making it have better shell velocity. You can kind of see with all the changes there, a lot of them have shell velocity changes, because basically every tank that had AP has slower shell velocity. And tanks which APCR have higher shell velocity. They're trying to make APCR higher shell velocity, that it's not as dog shit of a shell as it currently is. But in my opinion, that doesn't change anything, because I can just run Supertron and AP and it's going to be basically the same thing. But at the end of the day, I'll always I'll always prefer my AP shell. That's going to be more reliable at penning tanks than APCR, which is notoriously unreliable. So that's kind of my opinion. Just get rid of APCR standard. That's my honest opinion. Overall, the changes, I think they're okay, but I don't know. There's a lot of tanks, in my opinion, that didn't really get a whole lot better. I mean, the same category is actually pretty massive at the moment. We do have a lot of tanks that did get slightly better, but none of them better to the point where it's going to be game changing. However, I will give credit where it's due. I think the 60 TP getting AP, the Kron getting AP, the Constant getting AP, those are really nice changes. But I just feel like them giving AP to all these tanks that really needed it, and then giving APCR to some tanks that really didn't need it, is just kind of counterbalancing the good work that they did basically by giving tanks AP. Just in my opinion, just make everything AP, man. Will make everybody's lives better, and just, yeah, it's better not to get trolled all the time by APCR. So that's just my opinion. But let me know what you guys think in the balance changes. Maybe there's something I missed. Maybe you guys disagree with my tier list. Whatever your thoughts are, just let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to read them all. Hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, make sure you guys smash the like button. I really appreciate that. And make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. But without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.